Have you ever stood in a pharmacy clutching your ADHD prescription only to be met with an uncomfortable silence and a sidelong glance from behind the counter? Maybe the pharmacist tells you they're out of stock again. Or maybe you catch that look, the one that says, are you really supposed to be taking this medication? For millions dealing with ADHD, just filling a medication script has become a marathon of judgment, frustration, and resistance, not only from the system, but sometimes even from the people around us. As shortages drag on and stigma grows, many patients find themselves dialing pharmacy after pharmacy, battling bureaucratic red tape and fearing they're seen as drug seekers rather than people managing a legitimate health condition. Even when the medication is finally in stock, the fear of being judged for needing stimulants like Adderall never really goes away. It's no wonder that so many are searching for answers beyond the prescription pad. Today, we're shining a spotlight on 5 powerful non-stimulant approaches that can be life-changing. Approaches that put you in control of your ADHD journey, free from the pharmacy counter and free from the judgment that too often comes with it. Did you know untreated ADHD can quietly steal up to 8 years from your life just because the right help isn't available or recognized? For millions of adults, ADHD is a lifelong challenge, not just something outgrown from childhood. In the US alone, more than 15 million adults live with ADHD, and almost half of those receive their diagnosis in adulthood. Yet adequate care remains elusive. Adults with ADHD face a shorter lifespan, on average 6 to 8 years less, often due to lack of treatment, greater risk of accidents, and limited mental health support. Access issues hit hard. Diagnosis rates vary by where people live and their personal circumstances. Adults with lower incomes, less education, and those outside large cities struggle to find care and support. Gender bias means many women go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed for years, especially when symptoms don't fit the classic hyperactive profile. For those over age 50, some symptoms are likely missed or misunderstood as signs of aging. These disparities add up. Delays in diagnosis and gaps in treatment compound everyday struggles with work performance, time management, organization, and relationships. Untreated, ADHD can steal years from life and opportunity, keeping millions trapped in a cycle of frustration and stress rather than growth. So what's really behind the skyrocketing demand for ADHD meds? The truth about overprescribing, the trendiness of stimulants, and why real patients get caught in the middle. Today's adult ADHD landscape is complicated by a medication craze that's hard to ignore. Over the past year alone, prescriptions for stimulant medications like Adderall have jumped by nearly a quarter among adults, fueled by growing awareness and demand. Social media trends and the push for performance have made psychiatric stimulants seem almost trendy, leading to widespread overprescribing and sometimes superficial screening for ADHD. But with the surge comes new problems. Pharmacists are more wary than ever, and many adults encounter skepticism or intrusive questions each time they pick up their meds. The headlines about overdiagnosis and drug misuse make patients feel judged, not just as people needing help, but as possible abusers. Stigma now goes hand in hand with suspicion, especially as reports show that 1 in 5 adults with a stimulant prescription has misused or diverted their medication in the past year, a reality that heightens scrutiny at the pharmacy counter. The combination of growing demand, medication shortages, and changing public attitudes means adults with genuine ADHD often struggle to be seen as legitimate patients rather than part of a nationwide prescription craze. Still think medication is a quick fix? Keep watching to find out why skipping foundational habits can put your heart and your future at risk. Jumping straight to stimulant medication may seem tempting, but research shows adults who rely on medication without building lifestyle or behavioral skills face increased long-term cardiovascular risks, including high blood pressure and heart problems. Tolerance can lead to dependence, with higher doses needed for symptom relief, plus the potential for abuse among patients with substance abuse histories. Medication also doesn't address core executive function deficits or teach practical strategies for organizing, emotional regulation, or time management. These challenges are persistent in adulthood and usually require skills-based approaches to overcome. Now, what if you could rebuild your focus, energy, and motivation without relying on the pharmacy at all? These 5 strategies just might change everything. The challenge with ADHD isn't just managing symptoms, it's building a foundation that actually supports your brain's unique wiring. Too many adults jump straight to medication without addressing the basics, missing powerful interventions that could transform their daily experience. Let's walk through 5 evidence-based approaches that work with your ADHD brain, not against it. We use these approaches as the foundation for our program at Bespoke Concierge MD. The first and most important intervention is sleep. Sleep isn't just rest. It's when your ADHD brain repairs itself and consolidates memory. Adults with ADHD are 3 times more likely to have sleep disorders, yet most never address this foundational issue. Quality sleep directly impacts executive function, emotional regulation, and attention span. When you optimize sleep through consistent bedtimes, cool, dark rooms, and screen-free wind-down routines, you're literally rewiring neural pathways that control focus and impulse control. Without proper sleep hygiene, every ADHD symptom becomes magnified. Your working memory crashes, emotional reactions spike, and that afternoon brain fog becomes inevitable. Many adults spend years treating ADHD symptoms that are actually just chronic sleep deprivation in disguise. Poor sleep creates a vicious cycle. ADHD symptoms make it harder to maintain good sleep habits, which makes ADHD symptoms worse. For improved sleep habits, you can check out my video on sleep hygiene here. The next intervention is exercise. Exercise isn't just about physical health for ADHD adults. It's about building better brain chemistry. 20 minutes of aerobic activity increases dopamine and norepinephrine levels for hours afterwards, essentially giving you a natural dose of what stimulant medications provide. Outdoor exercise, or green exercise, offers even greater benefits for attention and mood regulation. Regular movement literally grows new brain cells and strengthens connections between brain regions involved in executive function. Now, adults who skip regular exercise miss out on one of the most powerful natural ADHD treatments available. Without movement, dopamine levels stay low, making it harder to feel motivated or focused. Physical inactivity also increases depression and anxiety, conditions that frequently co-occur with ADHD and make symptoms much harder to manage. Sedentary adults with ADHD often find themselves caught in a cycle of low energy and poor mood that medication alone can't fix. To help find motivation and understand how to incorporate and prioritize exercise, check out my book review on Spark here. I struggle with ADHD, and after reading Spark, it led me to make a daily morning walking routine, which has dramatically changed my focus and helped me execute the rest of my day pretty much on track. When I'm working all day, every day practically, I feel really fatigued, and when I notice that fatigue coming in or I can't focus, all I am doing is taking a quick 10 or 15 minute walk, and it completely resets me and helps me move forward. I think exercise is one of the most critical pieces to helping a patient manage their ADHD symptoms. Another area to focus on is nutrition. Your ADHD brain has specific nutritional needs that most adults never consider. Neurotransmitter production depends on steady blood sugar, omega-3 fatty acids, and key vitamins and minerals. A diet rich in whole foods, lean proteins, and healthy fats provides the raw materials your brain needs to produce dopamine and maintain stable attention. Regular, balanced meals prevent the blood sugar crashes that send ADHD symptoms through the roof. Adults who eat irregularly or rely on processed foods experience blood sugar roller coasters that wreak havoc on ADHD symptoms. Skip breakfast and your afternoon focus crashes. Load up on sugar and you'll face energy spikes followed by mental fog. Poor nutrition also increases inflammation in the brain, making it harder for neural networks to function efficiently. Many adults unknowingly sabotage their ADHD management by fueling their brains with foods that work against them. To learn more about nutrition and its impacts on your health, check out Dr. Edney's YouTube channel. I think many of us recognize how hard it is to get up and work the next day when they're hungover. If you have ADHD and you're eating junk food, it's like having that hangover the next day. You can't focus, you can't really stay on track. It's hard not to get lost in some other small detail. So I strongly encourage my patients to really focus on what they're eating because that's the fuel for your brain. Next, it's important to focus on structure. Executive function challenges don't improve through willpower alone. They need external support systems. Effective organization for ADHD adults means creating visual reminders, using timers and alarms, breaking big projects into smaller steps, and building routines that become automatic. These aren't crutches. They're accommodations that work with your brain's natural patterns rather than fighting them. Adults who don't develop organizational systems live in constant reactive mode. Important deadlines sneak up, bills get forgotten, and daily tasks feel overwhelming. This chronic disorganization creates persistent stress that makes every ADHD symptom worse. Without systems to support executive function, adults can often develop anxiety and depression from repeatedly failing at things neurotypical brains handle automatically. The emotional toll of constant disorganization can be devastating to self-esteem and relationships. That blow to self-esteem is probably the biggest invisible cost to ADHD, and why I think it's so important to understand this issue from a fully integrated perspective. If you have ADHD, you will miss things and forget stuff, and you'll otherwise feel really stupid. You just need a better system to manage your tasks. I've seen a couple patients have some really creative and thoughtful ideas here. They will speak into Siri and say, Siri, remind me in 45 minutes to turn off the oven. Or they will set reminders for themselves on their calendar and 1 week remind me to renew my driver's license. Personally, I am in love with to-do lists. Every day I will whip out my phone and create a new to-do list on my Google Mail drafts. And I'll go through and just identify 3 or 4 or maybe 5 key things I have to make sure I get done that day. That way, when I have a moment where I'm all of a sudden feeling a little sidetracked, I'll go back and make sure I checked off some of those critical pieces. Finding little ways to help nudge yourself back on track and make sure things get done, maybe not exactly in the moment they're supposed to be done, but eventually that day can make a huge difference in your productivity, which will then make you feel better about yourself. The last area to focus on is therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy and ADHD coaching provide the missing piece: practical skills for managing time blindness, emotional dysregulation, and the specific challenges of adult ADHD. These approaches teach you how to break the cycle of procrastination, manage overwhelming emotions, and develop strategies for workplace and relationship challenges. It's not about fixing what's wrong with you, it's about learning to work effectively with your unique neurology. Adults who don't develop behavioral strategies remain trapped in patterns that don't serve them. They might rely solely on medication without building the practical skills needed for long-term success. Without CBT or coaching, many adults continue to struggle with shame, self-blame, and feeling broken rather than understanding how their brain works differently. They miss opportunities to develop resilience and coping strategies that serve them throughout life, leaving them vulnerable whenever medication isn't enough. Now imagine waking up with energy, actually finishing what you start, and connecting with people who matter. Does it sound impossible? It isn't, if you get the foundation right. The power of these approaches isn't just that they work, it's that they work together, creating a foundation that supports everything else you do to manage ADHD. When you address sleep, movement, nutrition, organization, and skills simultaneously, you're not just treating symptoms, you're optimizing your entire system for success. ADHD doesn't disappear in adulthood. It changes shape, creates new obstacles, and demands proactive solutions. Medications like Adderall bring relief to many, but access, stigma, and risks mean they can't be the only tool in the box. By prioritizing sleep, movement, nutrition, organizational support, and therapy, adults with ADHD create lasting changes that go far beyond symptom relief. There are great books out there to get a better sense of how your ADHD mind works, like Driven to Distraction and ADHD is Awesome. You can find the book reviews linked here and in the description. The medication revolution starts with an empowered, skill-based approach that works regardless of pharmacy shortages or social judgment. Every adult deserves a chance to thrive, starting with tools they can access today for a healthier brain and a longer life. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but when these approaches work together, adults describe it as finally understanding how their brain operates. They wake up with energy instead of dread. They feel capable of tackling projects they've been avoiding for years. Their relationships improve because they can actually focus during conversations and follow through on commitments. They rediscover the confidence and potential that ADHD symptoms have been masking. I've treated many patients over the years. Most of them are working really hard trying to keep a job or 2 jobs or even 3 jobs to make ends meet. They're constantly running into challenges where they can't remember things, or they miss deadlines, or they have issues with organization, and they're just feeling very sabotaged. I am tired of seeing people feel that way. The key is recognizing that ADHD management isn't one size fits all. You need approaches that work with your specific brain patterns, lifestyle, and challenges. Some people thrive with morning exercise routines like me. Others need evening wind-down rituals like my wife. Some respond best to visual organization systems. Others need auditory reminders. The beauty of these non-stimulant approaches is that you can experiment, adjust, and personalize them without waiting for prescription approvals or pharmacy availability. You don't need to navigate this alone. You are welcome to join my practice at Bespoke Concierge MD. We're here to help nationwide, offering personalized ADHD optimization programs that treat you as an individual, not as a number. Thanks for watching. If this information helped you or someone you know, please share this video. Your story in the comments could help other adults realize they're not alone in this journey. Remember, your ADHD brain isn't broken. It just works differently, and that difference can be your strength when you have the right tools and strategies.